All right. Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining Geeta's monthly awareness program. And I'm delighted to open our discussion on Ayurgenomics, an emerging field that integrates ancient wisdom of Ayurveda with genomic approaches. This work is reshaping how we understand human diversity, disease, and individualized intervention. I would now like to invite Yogacharya Nilachal Padmashanti to start the discussion. And before that, let's start with Guru Gayatri. So I'll hand it over to Nilachal.
Thank you, Prakriti. And let us start with the invocation. Join with me. Gurus are the path, the energy which gives direction to the darkness to the light. So let us invoke the Ganesh Gayatri followed by Guru Gayatri. Om Tadganeshaya Vidmahe Vakratundaya Dhimahi Tanno Dantihi Prachodayate Om Tat Paramparayaya Vidmahe Jnanalingeshwaraya Dhimahi Tanno Guruh Prachodayate Om Yoga Maharishi Dr. Swami Geetananda Giri Guru Maharaj Ki Jai. Om Pudvai Kalamamani Pudvai Shakti Yogacharya Amma Ji Meenakshi Devi Bhavanani Guru Mata Ki Jai. Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Hari Om. Namaste and Pranam. Over to you, Nidhi. Okay. Yeah. So we are here with this month's awareness program, and as Nirudhi mentioned in the beginning, that Ayurveda and the term Ayurgenomics is evolving, emerging, and it is one of the very important terms to be understood and known in present context. And as the therapy field is getting more advanced, when earlier it was thought of taking one pill for many diseases, now the trend is being changed in all the field of medicine, and the individual approach is coming into a bigger picture. And when these kind of concepts and practical applications are being understood and to be known, Ayurgenomics is one of the important, or I will say indispensable part to any therapist or yoga therapy or whatever therapy they can be is of to be known. So they should know about the Ayurgenomics. So before starting it in a very serious manner, I just like to share the screen with a very basic understanding, and one of the very important understanding that I understood till now, that human beings, like we understood through many infographics and different caricatures, comics and all. So I've just tried to start with a comic, or I will say a very small description about like what is Ayurgenomics. So I just share here. I think it is visible. So yeah. So here is one of the concept and illustration that I got to do these in few days, and this is the concept, and it is a imaginary character that I developed recently. And these are two characters, and I would like to introduce here those who are here and will be watching in future. So this is a character. So there is a couple who call themselves Guddu and Guddu, and they have a lot of incidents in their life, and they share in a very informative manner. and their conversation are very helpful for us in many ways. So here, and this is just to let you know, this is one of the exclusive uh, print or exclusive footage that you are here watching it. This is upcoming in the Shanti magazine, the Live Holistic that it presents, and like how the adventures of Bukas and all comes. So here, so coming back to this very important, interesting, and the concept, I may not be able to make you understand the concept of Prakriti Ayurgenomics in a very detailed or understandable way, but I want you to take something from this session, and this comic or this conversation between Guddu and Guddu can help you to remember something from this session. So coming back, so there was a very pleasant day, and both Guddus were walking in the park, and in the park, when the male or the female, so he just says like, "Lovely morning, isn't it, Guddu?" And the other one, she is very much curious, and she says, "Yes, but have you noticed something?" So the way she asked the question, he was very much understanding, and he said, "When you start like this, I know a very big question is coming." And she started pointing in the surrounding. Look at them. Some people in the morning in some park, some same morning, same park, same weather, yet everyone behaves differently. And he understood the concept, or he understood the question that she wanted to ask, and he replied with the answer that she was seeking. And and he said, and not just the behavior, everyone and each one of us loves spicy food. Another feels cold all the time. Someone sleeps in 5 minutes. Someone keeps thinking all night. So there are different people. So she asked, she is confused. So who is normal? And he replies, maybe everyone. And he explains that Ayurveda says each of us is born with our own natural blueprint. And that blueprint is called Prakriti. Then she got confused and she wanted to understand. So, Prakriti means the real me? Then he replies, exactly. And as you can see, in the beginning, they were having the tea, and and after that, she wanted to have ice cream, and she started eating ice cream, and she suddenly started sneezing after eating an ice cream. And the male Guddu, he says, and understood there is a change in the body constitution, there is affecting the body in some way. And he says, and today your ice cream may have disturbed that balance that you have. And she also wanted to know, is it that the Prakriti? And the male Guddu, he replies, no, that is the imbalance, and that imbalance is Vikriti. So Prakriti is your original nature, and Vikriti is what happens when life pulls you away from it. And then she understood, and she asked again, so Ayurveda isn't trying to change me? And then he replies, it simply helps us to return to our own original self. And here the understanding of Prakriti and Vikriti comes. Prakriti is our original, if we try to understand, a kind of melody that is a balance. And Vikriti is when life pulls or puts you instrument out of tune. Melody out of tune is Vikriti, and when it is in its natural form, it is Prakriti. And Ayurveda and yoga helps us to play our own music again. So here the story finishes. The both goes to their place to do their own work. But here for us, there lives a very important concept to understand, the concept of Prakriti and related with Ayurgenomics. So here the main slide comes. So if you may not be able to understand the Prakriti in the upcoming slides and Ayurgenomics, this story may help you to understand in some way or the other. So now, when we understand what is Prakriti, or why we want to go to the basics of all these things, So why do similar people respond differently? Why do similar people react to same conditions, same food, same like this conditions of the disease differently, and same medicines also? There is the same exposure, there is the same uh, environment, but they respond differently. What is the reason behind that? The reason lies in the different aspect how we react with them. So we often assume that if the exposure is the same, the response will also be the same, and the response should also like act how the environment is. But human biology does not work in that way. Same exposure, but different biology, different outcome. And this is the central idea that we need to understand, that each one of us is very different from the other. Each one of us is unique. And this is central idea that we want to bring in this whole conversation. And when we will talk about the therapy and everything, we will understand that individualized therapy or intervention or healing is very much important in present scenario, because each one of us is unique. And so the question again arises from here, that we all are different. So why do people respond differently? So because the biology is shaped by many layers acting together, and we have the genetics, we have the metabolism, physiology, age, environmental factors, microbiome, behavior, previous exposures. So we are not just the genes, we are genes interacting continuously with metabolism, physiology, environment, behavior, and time. So just to get an example of all these, for example, food. Suppose five people eat the exact same meal with the and they have the same food. Will everyone will have the same kind of digestion, or the same way they will digest it? Someone may feel energetic after eating the food, some may feel lethargy, some may vomit also, and some may get some acidity or some bloating also. So food, same food, but it will impact differently. Similarly, stress, this, we can imagine a stress response from different people. So same situation, but different responses. One person heart rate increases dramatically, another remains relatively calm, one can't sleep, and one can overthink a whole night. So, and other can recover quickly as well. So there can be different level of response of the stress. So stressors may be the same, the stress response is individual. Similarly, when we talk about the drug, the medicines that we take, taking the example again here, two or three people may receive exactly the same dose of the same medicine, yet one responds very well, another responds poorly, and a third responds with some side effects. So, what is the reason? Because it depends on how rapidly the person's body absorbs, metabolizes, and eliminates the drug. And this is something is coming up where genetic variations in drug metabolizing enzymes are one very, very reason for the modern medicine development. And they are going to the field of pharmacogenomics, where each individual has its own characteristic, and according to that nature, the drugs are being manufactured. So this is one of the very emerging fields coming. And disease again, disease, if you see, say two people may be exposed to similar risk factors, yet one develops disease and another will have no effect or will be healthier than the first one. So the severity, progression, and recovery may also differ per the individual. So Ayurgenomics begin here, and individuality is not a footnote; it's the main story. So we need to understand, and if you just try to understand the human and the DNA concept in the right side, and the image represents an important change happening in modern medicine. And for a long time, we classified people mainly according to the disease, the diabetic, hypertensive, arthritis, cancer, and many more. But increasingly, researchers are asking a different question. Who is the person who has the disease? So the question is going back to the individuality of the in a person and what is the nature. So the gene matters, the DNA matters, but the genes are only one layer. The DNA, metabolisms, organs, nervous system, microbiome, whole person physiology actually matters in this way. Similarly, our metabolism, organs, nervous system, microbiome continuously interact with the lifestyle and the environment. And the human individuality is directly related with the Ayurvedic description. And that is what we're going to understand about the Prakriti. And the modern biology measures it through genomics and the system biology. And this brings out the concept of Ayurgenomics and the possible connections between the two. So this is what we are going to understand in this whole lecture. And just try to understand in a very basic manner. I may not be able to make you understand completely, but try to be with me wherever you are and ask me or type the questions wherever you feel. So coming to the next part. So to understand the Ayurgenomics or the concept regarding the Ayurveda, genomics, what are they? So let us begin with Ayurveda. Let us understand the basic fundamental terms that are being used in Ayurveda, which will actually help us to know all the concepts more clearly. And the development of an individual happens at the time of conception that we need to understand. And before that, the terms that we are going to use are the Shukra and the Shonit. And those actually lead to the formation of Garbha, uh, the uh, the child or the formation of the Garbha is because of the Shukra and the Shonit. And here Shukra Shonit represents the paternal and maternal reproductive contributions. And I just like to point here, in Ayurveda, there are different contexts and these same terms are used for different aspects. So here, if we use Shukra can be the sperm and the Shonit can be the ovum. But there are other meanings of Shukra and Shonit in Ayurvedic in different contexts. Like the dhatus are also there. So they have different explanation for Shukra in when it is talked about the Shukra as the dhatu. And similarly, Shonit is also mentioned indifferently. So here we will be using, like what I understood through various research papers, that they are using the term the paternal contributions and maternal contributions. So they actually give a broader idea about the Shukra and Shonit. So when the Shukra and Shonit are there, they actually help the formation of the Garbha. And here, like Shukra in conception, paternal reproductive seed. Shukra is the sperm in this context. And as I mentioned, as a dhatu, it is a reproductive tissue and the function is also mentioned in that way. And it also means the potency and the vitality of the male. And here, as I mentioned, the research papers try to mention it in the term of paternal reproductive contributions. And similarly for the Shonit, that is also called Artha, and they are also terms being used differently and similar also. So it is the blood, and it can be taken in many ways, and in terms of conception, it is the ovum. And elsewhere, the blood can have different meaning, and here we are going to take it as a maternal reproductive contributions. So that's why Ayurveda uses broader term of Bij that we are going to see here in this slide for these contributions, paternal and maternal contributions. And as I was mentioning that Shukra and Shonit leads to the formation of Garbha. This is the basic idea that we all understand. The male and female gametes meet and the zygote is formed and the formation of child that happens in that way. But there is a bigger perception in Ayurveda, and that is called Garbha Samabhava Samagri. So Garbha is uh, the formation of the child, the area, the newborn baby, and Samabhav is the requirements they have, and Samagri is the ingredients, Samabhav Samagri. So they have to be in equal quantity, Samabhav. So the equal quantity of all the ingredients are needed. So Garbha Sambhav Samagri concept are the four essential for factors for conception, and the seed and the continuous that support it. So basically, it is the Ritu, and Ritu is the appropriate fertile period, and the Kshetra is the primarily the uterus and the reproductive environment. The Amb is the nourishment, the nutrition, and the Bij, the seed, is the basically the sugar or the paternal, and bees is not only the male contribution or the paternal contribution, it is the both male and female contributions. So paternal and maternal contributions. And here the concept of all the sanskaras are also been included in Indian context, where the Punshwan sanskar, Garbha sanskar, and all this used to happen in Indian culture, where they used to give them different environment according to which the garb should be healthy, the fetus should be healthy, the child should be healthy from the first, from the beginning itself. And here is the verse that we find from Sushruta Samhita, and here he compares the this concept of Ritu, Kshetra, Amb, and Bij, Garbh, Sambhav, Samagri as a field. So the field is the the fertile plain, and where all these things happen. So right season, the field, and the water and seed. So all these when come together, then the plants grow, and then the plants grow in a good way. So Dhruvam Chatur Varnam Sannidhaya Syadidhi Purvakam Ritu Kshetram Ambu Bijanam Samagryad Ankura Yato. So the sprouting happens when the right season, field, water, and seed combine together. So conception doesn't depend on single factor that many have this idea, but it is a multi-factor event, and this is how it happens. And Sushruta gives this a concept of the agriculture to understand this concept of Garbha. And here, another very important thing that we come across from the concept of Bij, that is like in Ayurveda, Bij, as I mentioned, paternal and maternal contributions. Here it goes beyond, or it goes deeper, I will say. And I will start with the analogy of a book. So just try to understand, and you will understand by yourself also what I mean and where I want to take you. So Bij is a complete book, the whole book, and Bij Bhag is a chapter, and Bij Bhag Vaya is a paragraph in that chapter. So how deep is the, or how broader, or how minutely, or how microscopic level we are going into this Bij. So microscopic will be the correct direction that I want to take you. So in modern context, if you see, the Bij is the paternal and maternal contributions, and the Bij Bhag is the specific function of the Bij responsible for forming the organs and body system, and Bij Bhag Vaya is a fine structure within the Bij Bhag, like the characteristics that one can develop, like the hair, the color, the skin color, the complexion, and everything like that. So this is how it goes, and we can relate it to the modern concept as well. Like the Bij is the gametes, male and female gametes, sperm and ovum. The Bij Bhag is the chromosomes, and the Bij Bhag Vaya can lead us to the genes and genetic loci, or the DNA in that term. So this is how we can understand these basic terms. And again, Sad Garbh Kar Bhav. Though Shad is the six, Garbh Kar that which actually help to develop the Garbh, and Bhav is the nature how it can develop. So there are six factors responsible for this, and here we can understand these in that context. Like person does not develop from only the inheritance of the paternal characteristics. The formation and development of Garbh are influenced by these six contributions. And in the beginning, as we saw in the previous slide, that the four factors were there: the Ritu, Kshetra, Amb, and Bij. These we can call it like embryogenesis, the formation of the embryo, And these are essential raw ingredients for the formation of garb that we understood, that we saw, and we have basic idea of this. After that, the formation contributes, the development has to be done, and the organogenesis, the psychosomatic development, and all these things are needed, and these are possible with these 6 factors or contributors. And Maharshi Charak Shushruta and Acharya Kashyap, they gave some idea about this, and Matrij, Pitrija, Rasaja, Atmaja, Satvaja, and Satmeja. So they are all the concepts that help in the development of the garb. So Matrija is the maternal factors like the heart, liver, spleen, kidneys. There's a lot of explanation for this. There are huge explanation for these things. Pitrija is the paternal factors like the bones, teeth, hair, beard, body hair, tendons, ligament, fascia, and a lot more actually. And Rasaj is the nutrition factors from mother's diet and digestion. That ahar ras, whatever she eats, the rasa has the factor that develops the fetus physically, the physicality, the vitality, the maintenance, how the fetus is getting developed. Then there is the Atmaja. This is here interesting thing that Ayurveda makes us understand, where soul derived factors are being mentioned. So Atma, that is the spiritual entity entering the zygote, governing the consciousness, senses, and destiny. So the life, perception, physiology, emotions, all are developed with this contributor of this Shadgarbha Bhava. And Sattvaja, the physiological or the psychological factors. Sattvaja is the psychological characters which help in the development of the fetus, like the behavior, cognition, the character. And these are only a few things that I'm mentioning here. And if you go to the detail, there are a lot of things mentioned. And Satmaja is the adaptability, the wholesome habits, lifestyle, and environmental compatibility of the parent. So it includes the immunity, the vigor, the tone, and all these characteristics. So Prakriti is closer to a complex phenotype than a single genetic level that we are going to see again in upcoming slides. So together, these 6 factors show that the constitution is understood as the result of these parental, nutritional, adaptive, and psychological and individual influences, and not hereditary alone. So the interaction of these contributors help establish individuals' relatively stable constitutional pattern. So this individual's a stable constitutional pattern is what we are going to understand as Prakriti. So that is what we need to understand. So that is what it is very important to get to know the picture behind this whole concept. So Prakriti is a relatively stable constitutional pattern of an individual, and more or less we try to understand in terms of Deha Prakriti, Manas Prakriti, but as a whole Prakriti. So Dosh Prakriti means the physical constitutional, but it includes more than the physical body. And so Prakriti is not simply something thin, muscular, or heavy. It is a whole personal or person constitutional model. And we need to understand another aspect as well, where the physical, the structure is given in the terms of skin, body, build, how it is. The physiological, the appetite, nutrition, sleep, temperature. The sensory motor, the movement, gait, response, psychological, memory, emotion, temperament, and the spiritual, individual orientation. So this is how Dosh Prakriti can be understood. And there is very important concept needed to be understood, and I tried to show in the beginning about the Prakriti and Vikriti. So we can understand in terms of weather. So weather and climate, we can understand. So climate is relatively baseline pattern. So we have a summer climate. The climate is constant. It doesn't change in a very short duration. It lasts for longer. And weather, it can change within minutes. So climate is relatively baseline pattern, while when we see a weather, it is like current disturbance deviation from the baseline. So weather changes instantly. So Prakriti can be understood as a climate and Vikriti can be understood as a weather. So Prakriti help us to understand how a person responds to food, climate, like how we saw the disease, the drugs, treatment, and it can therefore inform prevention of the individual, and also it can help us to plan a therapy or help have a individualized therapeutic approach for that person for treatment. So this is how the Prakriti and Vikriti can be understood. So climate and weather. And from here, we are going towards this is where the Ayurgenomics enters, and it asks whether this whole person's Prakriti phenotype is the appearance, how we look, see, like that is associated with measurable differences in genetics, metabolism, immunity, microbiome, or physiological response. So this is how the Ayurgenomics enters, and we need to know the different aspects of this Prakriti. And this can be understood in terms of three doshas. And I would like to take you to the Panch Mahabhut while before discussing these doshas. And when if we are into the field of yoga, we have the understanding of the Shad Darshan, and Shad Darshan has the six philosophies, Shad six, and Darshan has different perceptions and a lot of broader meaning. So Sankhya and Yoga Darshan go hand in hand. And Sankhya Darshan, there is an explanation of 25 tattvas, how the formation of an individual or everything is uh, happens. So from the Prakriti Purush to the from the subtle, if I like to just mention in a very brief way, from subtle aspect of the existence to the gross aspect of existence. So this is how it happens, and 25 elements or tattvas are there to describe this uh, from the subtle transformation to the gross or the vice versa, like that. So yoga help us to understand again in that context, and we are made up of the five elements: Prithvi, Agni, Jal, Vayu, Akash. So all these five elements are there, and these five elements are very important because these five elements only uh, make or constitute these doshas. So we have the definition. If we are not familiar with the term dosh, it is not anything very bad, but it is the constitutional element of our body and mind as well. Like it can be physical, physiological, behavioral, and anatomical also. So so we are made up of five elements, and we have the three sharir. So if you go to the gross sthula sharir, the five elements are there, and each of these doshas are like some dosha, some agnisha, some dhatu, malha kriya. Some is being. This is the definition of the health in Sushruta Samhita. Sushruta Mahashruta mentioned this definition, and what I want to bring it here is the Vat, Pith, and Kaph. If you see that they look very different, what it is: Vat, air; Pith, maybe fire; Kaph, maybe something we see like something liquid, maybe semi-liquid, semi-solid, something like that. But it is not only that. So Vata is air plus space. It is not only air, but it has the element of air plus space. So that constitutes the Vat or Vata, and Pitta or Pitta we is the fire plus water. So they both combine to form this element, and the kapha is nothing but water plus earth. So what I wanted to bring here, the five elements actually forms this vat, pith, and kapha. So each person has all the three doshas, and prakriti reflects relative dominance. Whatever is the nature of the body of an individual, the person will behave in that way. And just to go again in not going very away from the topic, but in yogic concept again, we have understanding of various nadis, and we have like different in context, we have different numbers of nadis, 72,000 and or like 3,50,000, and there are a lot of other numbers that are mentioned. But when we try to understand, there are basically three nadis: ida, pingla, sushumna. And when we go for the little more, when we go into the text, we have a lot more, like the ida, pingla, sushumna, saraswati, pusha, alambusha, gandhari, hasajiva, kuhu, shankhini, then vishwadhara, alambusa. So there are 14 nadis basically mentioned in many of the texts where it is there. There are some 16 also. So what I want to mention here, so we have different nadis in our body, and arising, and there is a nadi that I mentioned is Sankhini nadi. Just to give an example, and somehow, just giving an idea, just not to go away from the topic. If you are a yoga therapist and you know yoga, so this can be something that can be brought in future context. So if we understand Shankini Nadi, and Shankini Nadi, if we go into the explanation, it arises in the pelvic area, and it is the rectum, the reproductive organ, the urinary passage. So the lower body parts are basically being governed by this nadi. It is mentioned. It is mentioned in the text, and these are all subtle elements. It's not in the gross body. So if somehow we are able to understand some physiology or some aspect of our existence, and we try to energize these areas, and we uh, are able to do the prana. The prana is the healing element in our body, and if we somehow channelize the prana in that context, and according to the nature of the individual, we can help the individual in many ways. And so just trying to give an idea. I don't know if I am clear with this or not, but just wanted to give you an understanding or like a future scope. If we know these concepts about the nadis and doshas, prakriti, we can have a better solution healing aspects as well. So coming back, so Prakriti is a pattern of predominance, and one dosha leads while the other influence how the constitution is expressed. And I am trying to do my PhD in a topic where this concept of doshas deha Prakriti is there. And while understanding the Prakriti, I came into a concept of IUsoft software, and they have developed the constitutions or the Prakriti in a very categorized manner. So what I found in text, the seven Prakritis are being mentioned, like with single Prakriti, single Vata, Pitta, and Kapha, individualistic. There are dual also, Vata, Pitta, Kapha, like in pairs, and Sama Prakriti, all the three coming together. But to understand an individual, which one is dominant, they have given a very beautiful and very categorical explanation for all the prakritis and combinations. And when we do that, we get 10 types of prakriti. So here it can be, the term is there is ekantika vata, similarly with the kapha and with the pitta. So ekantika, one is there. For the combination, we get six of like the Kapha Pradhan Vat Anubandhi, Pit Pradhan Vat Anubandhi, then the Vat Pradhan Pitta Anubandhi, Kapha Pradhan Pit Anubandhi, Pit Pradhan Kapha Anubandhi, Vat Pradhan Kapha Anubandhi. So one is dominant, one is less dominant or influencing the other. So this is very important, and this actually help us to understand how an individual is. So what happens when one is having a Vata, Pitta or Kapha nature? So let us start with the Vata, and Vata, as I mentioned, with the Panchbhuta, Panchmahabhut, air and space. So Vata gives the movement, variability and sensitivity. Quick movement, little light sleep, irregular appetite, thin bony frame, dry skin, fast speech, and psychological tendency, quickness, fear, anxiety, short memory, and they're prone to constipation, cracking, neurological or muscular complaints, rheumatic disorders, bone joint issues, and uh, this is the balancing logic is to have them something like in the Ayurvedic concept of Bhyanga, moisturizing, something lubricating should be there to support the rhythm, rest, warmth, oiling, gentle exercises, and the practices. It should be, since there is a lot of movement, it is very much needed to have the grounding. So whatever help the Vata, whatever help the individual with Vata Prakriti in dominant form, which will help to ground, that will be helpful for that individual. So in yoga practices, which can help them to ground, that will help them to balance their prakriti. And in diet also, they can have the food which will not make or aggravate the vata of their body. Similarly, with the thought process, emotions also, the thoughts or the actions which will not aggravate the vata, that will helpful for them. Similar for the pith, the core pattern is the transformation, heat, and intensity. Strong hunger, thirst, warm body, sharp gaze, precise speech, ambition, and competitive drive, tendency towards heat and irritability. And they're prone to inflammatory tendency, rashes, skin disease, liver related issues, premature graying of falling of hair, and balancing is through cooling, something which help them to make some cooling effect or soothing calmness, so which will avoid heat, or in food spices which are very soothing in nature, and the alcohol and whichever the element aggravate or increases the fire should be avoided or balanced, and cooling food or cooling items should be introduced. So pitta needs cooling. So again, since I'm a Ayurveda, I'm a yoga, like I know about the yogic concepts. So if I just try to understand in terms of pitta, what they need, the cooling practices. Maybe that can be the Chandranadi pranayam or the Shitli Shitkari, Siddhanta. So these practices are helpful. I'm not just giving any specific practice, but these are helpful. Again, remember, we are all individualistic, and for anything we need to have these things, plus other things to be taken to understand and to give any kind of therapy when you're giving or any practices. Now the last, the kapha is water plus earth. So heavy, stable, cool, smooth, un, uh, uncutious, and dense. So that is the that is how we can understand kapha prakriti. And the core pattern is the structure, stability, and endurance. Well-built frame, steady movement of legs, soft, deep voice, prolonged sleep, calm position, slow but stable memory, strong retention, and loyalty. And the prone to like weight gain, obesity, diabetes, tendency, coronary risk tendencies, lethargy, and excessive sleep. And the balancing thing can be the light, warm, active stimulation, regular exercises, lighter meals, avoid excess dairy, sweet, day sleep, encourage movement and challenge, and they need movement. So the kapha is basically related with the movement. So we have one question here. So Ayurveda and modern biology use different languages, but both are interested in a similar question. So why do individuals differ in their structure, function, and response? So the answer that comes here is bridge we get the Ayurvedic phenotyping can be understood in terms of modern systems biology. And this whole idea of different, being a different, is because of the concepts, the how we are made, and the vata, pitta, and kapha, all things are there. So that is how it is mentioned, how it is we are made. And when we try to bridge a gap or way to understand modern biological concepts, we find ourselves very much similar concepts, like the beach in Ayurvedic deep phenotyping can be related with the genome in modern system biology, and ahar vihar with the lifestyle, the rasa or the ambaj or the nutritional factors with the metabolism or nutrition, here it is. Satmaya is the adaptation, and the Prakriti is the complex phenotype. And these are terms that cannot be that the explanation can be broader, but this is how we can understand it in one way. Yes. So from here, we go to some specific aspects of the concepts or few terms that is very essential in understanding our different terms. So Ayurgenomics is not searching for the Vata gene, Pitta gene or Kapha gene. Prakriti is a whole person phenotype. So when I was just trying to search for different papers, research studies, several biological layers came together. So Ayurgenomics is a concept where several biological concepts or layers are there, and then we can understand it in that way. So here, if you can see genome, so it's basically like what was inherited. So the genome contains the inherited DNA, uh, DNA and genes like that. What genetic variations does this person carry? So the epigenome, just give a brief, there can be a broadest explanation, and I have a limitation of these concepts. So this is what I understood and I can present here. So genome is what was inherited, and epigenome is how genes are regulated. So the epigenome influences which gene becomes more or less active, and epigenetics is the term that we will see that whatever hereditary we have, whatever in the bloodline the characteristics may have, we can change with our daily activities, lifestyle, and other things. So that is the epigenome, the which influence the gene, and the it, which can, like, it is a study where we can the what we say, the epigenome which influences the gene, and we can change it according to our actions. And there is a transcriptome which instructions are active, and it measures the gene expression, which biological instructions are being read at a particular time. The metabolome, what the body is producing. So the metabolome reflects the current biochemical state through molecules involved in energy, lipids, amino acid, and other metabolic processes. Physiology, we all understand how the whole system performs, and we examine observable functions like the heart rate, variability, metabolic response, and how the body reacts to certain challenges. And just to give an idea about this whole thing, to understand, we can consider the genome as a library, the epigenome as the access system, the transcriptome as the books currently being read, the metabolome as the work being produced, and the physiology as how the whole institution actually performs. So this is how it can be understood. And the Ayurgenomics asks whether the person or the individual classified through Prakriti show consistent patterns across one or more of these biological layers. And finding a difference does not automatically prove that Prakriti caused it or that it is clinically useful. Such findings require like replications, validation. We need to do a lot of researches. It is going on, and according to the different topological aspects, geography, diet, age, all things are also important. So this is how it can be understood, and as I mentioned, uh, the research has a lot of things to be mentioned. So these things are also there. So genomics and other aspects. I will just try to give just very brief what I understood. And these have broader concepts, and I still am learning in these things, and I have very brief idea about this. So I will just try to mention what I have understood. So genomics, so wide studies have reported differences of frequency of certain genetic variants among carefully selected Prakriti groups, and they have like association with like not Vata, Kapha, or Pitta genes. Pharmacogenomics, some studies have found differences in drug metabolism related with the uh, genotypes across Prakriti groups like that. And epigenetics, like researchers have also reported group association differences in DNA, and like suggesting that investigation must go beyond inherited DNA alone. So those things are there. Similarly, in other also like physiology, the heart rate variability and challenge response studies suggest a lot of the constitutional differences may become more visible with the when the body is placed under some stress or another psychological condition. So these are all these things that came across, and I think this is where I would like to just stop. And association is like step one, not step five. And as I was mentioning earlier, the pharmacogenomics is emerging, and where drugs responds differently to different people. So how to inherited biological differences affect drug absorption, metabolism. These things are into the study, and very few studies are there. I could only find two papers on the pharmacogenomics, and the studies are going on. So these all are coming up. So what are all these? Uh, so here is the takeaway that I would like to give to you all. So Ayurveda starts with the individuality, and when we understand a person as an individual, not as a person with a disease, we are understanding a perspective, and we can help the individual with a lot of things, not only with a disease. Like, for example, if we see a person in terms of a disease, we are actually going in terms of the what is the pathophysiology, how the disease is happening. The idea, the focus is the disease. But when we move from the disease to the individual, we can not only provide the cure or the remedy or some support, but also we can have the preventive approaches for the individual. So that is how the individual approach helps. And we also have understood here the Shukra Shonit concept in the beginning, and the classical inheritance begins with the maternal and paternal reproductive contributions and development. And the genes are only one layer. We have a lot of things there: epigenetics, metabolism, microbiome, physiology, environment that shape our expression. And Ayurgenomics, it is an emerging field where Ayurveda and genomic concepts comes together, and they help us in many like in understanding the individual as a whole, WHOLE whole. So that is what we need to understand. So this is what I would like to stop here, and so definitely, so we are in the emerging field of the Ayurgenomics, and a lot of things to be done. And if you missed the beginning, I think the slides I will share later. Okay, so that's uh, over to you,
Nilachal, you can
Nirodhi.
share the opening slide once again because some of them were not here. So I
Okay.
would like you to show them about Guddu and Buddu again.
Okay. So yeah. So if you have not like if you joined late or my explanation were not very clear, so again I would like to mention here. So this is an illustration, very exclusive exclusive footage of this Guddu and Guddu comics, which help us to understand the Prakriti and Vikriti. So here there was a lovely morning, and there is a couple who call each other Guddu and Guddu, and they were walking in the park. One is drinking some herbal tea, and other is also drinking some tea. And she was very curious, the female Guddu, and she wanted to know, like, have you noticed something in the surrounding? And this question, the first Guddu, he said like he understood her in a very understanding manner, and Then she showed like, look at the people surrounding, same morning, same park, same weather, yet everybody behaves differently. So why is it? Why it is? There was a curiosity. So he replies, it is not only that everyone behaves differently in this way. Uh, there are a lot of differences. One loves spicy food, another feels cold all the time. Someone sleeps in 5 minutes, someone keeps thinking all night. So all individuals are different or unique. So then she asks, who is normal? And he replies, maybe everyone. And he continues that Ayurveda says each of us is born with our own natural blueprint. And that blueprint is called Prakriti. And then she tries to understand deeper. So she says, Prakriti means the real me? And he replies, yes, exactly. It is your natural constitution, and it is not something which is not better or it is not worse. It is just simply you. And she just after having a tea had ice cream, and suddenly she started sneezing after eating the ice cream. And he replies that her ice cream may have disturbed that balance which we were talking about. Then she again curiously asks, so that is the Prakriti? Then he replies, no, that imbalance is Vikriti. Prakriti is the original nature, which happens or which actually is the constitution of your body, what happens at the time of conception. And Vikriti is what happens when life pulls you away from it. So Prakriti is permanent and Vikriti is temporary. Then she says, so Ayurveda isn't trying to change me? And he replies, it simply helps you to return to yourself. And with this, we comes to conclusion that Prakriti is our original melody, and Vikriti is when life puts us or puts our instrument out of the tune. And Ayurveda or yoga or any therapy help us play our own music again. So yeah, so that's the end. And
Yeah, it reminds me of Shiva and Parvati, the conversation between them, the Purusha and the Prakriti. I would now like to open the stage for some questions. So if you have any questions, you can either type it down or you can unmute yourself and ask.
yes, Alokji, please unmute.
Namaskar, Nilachal ji. Thank you so much for this enlightening talk. It was very, not only very interesting, but of course, very knowledgeable and very informative. Um, uh, my question is rather a little academic. Uh, why do we call Vat, Pitta, Kapha as doshas? As in Sanskrit and Hindi, dosha word means, something that is not good. And the other part of the question is like in case these are doshas and they snatch away the balance from us, means they bring about the vikrati in our original prakriti. So should not we call it as know your vikrati instead of calling it as know your prakriti? Prakriti is original, and I think that is common to all of us. What I understood. So please.
Hmm. Uh, So I have limited understanding. Like I know a little of the one part of the answer. So the verse for the dosha is the dushyati iti dosha. So that Sanskrit root dush, uh, to spoil, what you also mentioned, the corrupt, contaminate, or to impair, it is there. And so that is how this is also like it is there. So it comes from that root. And so why Vat, Pitta, and Kapha are essential, are called in that way? So Vat, Pitta, and Kapha, if they maintain health and normal physiological functions, and when they become increased or decreased or disturbed, they change the nature. They actually disturbs the dhatus or the malas, or the body functions as a whole. So, because they can contaminate the body, or if they increase or decrease, and that's why they are called doshas. And there is one more. Uh, I, I I may be wrong in this explanation. Like doshanat, it is dosha. So those which contaminate, that is called dosha. So by increasing or decreasing, they can change or contaminate in a way, not exactly how it is, but it can change the nature of the body. That's why it is called dosha. And there can be another explanation for this. So this is my understanding, limited understanding. Yes, Alokji. And you asked another question. Can you repeat? Like I really didn't get that.
No, in fact, I wanted to know from you that doshas, as you rightly discussed, that they contaminate our balance, and that's why the original Prakriti becomes Vikrati. So, as the title of your talk is Know Your Prakriti. So, shouldn't we call it as Know Your Vikrati instead of, because Prakriti, as I could understand, is that is original thing, and common to all of us, where the everything is in some state, some dhatu, some dosha, some others. So like that. So Prakriti and Vikrati, as you mentioned, that Prakriti is the original thing, and when it gets disturbed, it becomes Vikrati. Like Gudu, she started sneezing after having ice cream, and I never do that. So, so how we can relate them, Prakriti and Vikriti.
So, what I understood from your question, like you wanted to know, like why we should not know only Vikriti, not why to know Prakriti. So, the analogy I took with for the climate and weather. So, I said that
Looks like there's some power outage.
Let us wait.
So yeah, so there is some internet issue and there's electricity power cut. So yeah, anyways, so what I understood is the analogy of weather and climate. So if we understand the basic roots of our existence, then we can derive all the possible things from that. And Vikriti is just a part. It happens because of the doshas that inhibits us already. So if we want to know Vikriti, we need to know the Prakriti. So if we know Prakriti, we can manage things in a better way, or we can have a broader idea about our own existence. So this is how I will I understand. I will. This is like how.
Now it is clear. Now it is clear.
Yeah,
Thank you.
yeah, yeah. Bharatji,
Any
please.
other question?
Bharatji wants to ask.
Yes, thank you, Nilachal, for this fascinating presentation. I have a question that I'd appreciate your insights on, and that refers to a major trend. As I'm an amateur student of these topics, but there seems to be a major trend, and the epigenetics work has highlighted that trend, moving us from a model where the genetic composition, the genes that we were born with are limited, are very much limit and fix the outcomes that we can expect. That was the old model. and whether it was the genes themselves or the expression of the genes, how they influence. That was a dominant perception. Now, in some number of recent years, perhaps maybe the last 10, 20 years, there's been a growing influence, a growing research evidence showing the impact of lifestyle changes, diet, behavior, exercise, etc. And so part of my question, it may not be something you can answer, but there seems to be a trend whereby there's more importance being emerging, a need for placing more emphasis on the importance of diet and lifestyle. And it may be a growing influence that may, at some point in the next decade, or sooner, it may in fact dwarf and minimize a lot of the old models, a lot of the historical categorizations. So if you can if you can glean a question out of that, or just a comments on that would be wonderful. Thank you.
Yes, Bharatji, thank you for that question. And what you understand now, earlier when the concept of health and wellness and all things were there, it was all one pill for many diseases or many problems it was like thought of. And modern medicine is very emerging. They have a lot of things. If we want to seek any medical care, we go for the modern medicine mostly. Ayurveda and all the traditional medicines were there, but now only it has emerging again when people are understanding that these medicines have side effects and there can be alternatives. And after that, only people started going to some natural remedies from the Siddha, Ayurveda, fasting, a lot of other therapies, the acupressure, acupuncture, and a lot of other complementary and alternative medicines, how it came. And how I understood also, like at ISCM, how that trend changed over a period of time. So there was only this concept of complementary medicine. First, it was an alternate medicine, like how either one therapy or the other therapy can work. Either modern medicine or Ayurveda can work. Then gradually it becomes the complementary one. They can complement each other, but the primary will be the modern medicine, and to that one will complement. Now the integrative approach has emerged, and people are understanding the concept of individual therapy. And where I will say that the concept of self-genesis also is very important in that area, which is already in Ayurveda in terms of swasth and the definition that we all have. And salutogenesis is something which talks about the individual health and seeks the health and the dimensions of health, how we are comprehensible, manageable, or we have meaning in our life. So everything is going to individual identity. And when all these things are coming, people are more aware of the diet and lifestyle. And these two terms, or two areas of diet and lifestyle, are very easy and very accessible in many ways. So if you want to change anything, diet and lifestyle, and people have understood over a period of time. And in India, it is now happening. In the West, people have understood in many ways that lifestyle has to be healthy and what are the things that needed to be done. And we still are like in uh, the Indian subcontinents here, we are now emerging and accepting our old knowledge that we already had in our terms. So when it was developed, or it was in terms of in terms of lifestyle, health, they took it in a different way, and they tried to help themselves in different healthy possible ways in therapies, or how naturopathy also evolved, and all those things were there. And in Indian context, if you see, we already had these therapies and these concepts, and we are trying to uh, re alive, or we are trying to revive those concepts and teachings. So what I will answer to this the thought that you shared is, now the concept of individual therapy is emerging. So people are into more the therapies or treatment which gives individualized focused therapy. So they're finding whatever is giving, like Ayurveda, so Ayurgenomics, these things are coming up, and salutogenic topic is also coming. Like everybody wants to know how it is helpful for me, how individual, or like it is always like me in terms of like how it can help me. I am a different person from the other whole world. So how it will help me? So individualized is the first thing, and with that, it is it has spread in all the areas. And how I mentioned about the pharmacogenomics in the drug modern medicine, the pharmacy field also is trying to do the same. How the medicines, the allopathic medicines can help individual differently. So they're also trying in that way. So the individual treatment is becoming the modern trend, and they are trying to do it in whatever possible way, and that have the lifestyle and diet as the base, and whatever is helpful for them, people are doing it that way. I don't know if I'm answered, but this is how I can portray this.
Thank you, Nilachal ji. It is, your answer is very helpful. I just the reason for my question, I think, is that there is a growing dominance of shifting the responsibility to the individual in terms of the food we eat, the choices we make, the exercise that we do or don't do, and it seems to be moving ahead on a very different path than the pharmaceutical influence or even the traditional influences. So I'm not suggesting it's ready to replace it, but it's certainly expanding at a rate that at the very least it deserves more attention in terms of exercise and diet as growing in dominance and importance. But thank you.
Thank you, Bharatji.
I would now like to invite our founder and guiding light, Dr. Ananda Baliyogi sir. If you can come and say a few words and give your insights on today's topic.
Yeah, namaste, namaste everyone. Vanakkam. Back after travel and many things, and didn't want to miss Nilachal's presentation today, especially because this is a topic that I'm trying to understand more and more. And over the last 3.5 years, Nilachal has been working hard on understanding this topic. A few comments I would like to make on the topic, and that is, first of all, Nilachal, excellent presentation. I think this is a very good teaching material you have created, and I feel should become part of all the Yoga Chikitsa and other training programs that we offer. And even, in fact, I feel that it may be too heavy for one session. Then maybe we split it into 3 parts, and in the training program, we do it that way. Now, when we come to the Prakriti, as Alok ji so beautifully put it, are you trying to know your Prakriti or your Vikriti? Because here the question comes, if somebody wants to come to Pondicherry, in general, they ask me, what is the best time of the year with the best climate to come to Pondicherry? And I would say, yes, December, January is the best. Now, the issue is somebody ends up here in December and an unnatural rainstorm decides to come the 3 days they're in Pondicherry and spoils the trip. And they're like, Dr. Ananda, you told me Pondicherry climate is very good in December, January. I trusted you and came. And my whole trip is gone. I'm sitting inside my room for 3 days. I cannot see anything in Pondicherry. That saying that, yes, December, January is a good time in Pondicherry is your Prakriti. But when you come here, having that rainstorm, that thunderstorm that spoils all your plans is your Vikriti. And the Vikriti is something that is very difficult to understand because it keeps changing. In essence, Prakriti doesn't change. That is the essence of this methodology. But I would like to say that I believe even the Prakriti can be modified with our conscious decisions. This is a power of our discerning intellect that comes in. So yes, you are a Kapha dosha. You are a Vata dosha predominant. You are a whatever dosha predominant and all that 10 different classifications Nilachal's Ayursoft gives us. But that is not a label of who you are. Though it is giving you a generalized understanding of yourself, do not let your dosha determine who you are. You are not your dosha. That is a statement we can actually make if we want to understand. And this is why any sort of label is dangerous. Why do we want to know the Prakriti? So that we can adopt the choices that are aligned to our Prakriti, minimize the Vikriti. And this is why Ammaji made a beautiful play on the word. She said, Prakriti is the essential nature. Vikriti is the deviant away from it. And Sanskriti is the methodology to move from Vikriti back to Prakriti. Beautiful concept Amma has given us. What is Sanskriti? It is culture. What does culture mean? Oh, dance, music, art, dress, food. No. Culture means how do you grow? Culture means to grow. And this is why if you grow in the garden, it is called horticulture. If you grow in the field, it is called agriculture. Kshetri, agriculture. You have pisciculture. You have so many sericulture, worms for the silk, sericulture, pisciculture, agriculture, horticulture, cell culture. Culture is Sanskriti. Culture is the methodology adopted so that we can grow from where we have mutated back to our essential nature. Hence, Ayurgenomics is important. Not to give the right yoga therapy, not to give the right medicine, not to say you eat this type of diet. That is all secondary. That is all secondary. Most important is for us to become that version we are to be. And this is why it is a guideline. It is a guideline. It is not a jail. Your doshas are not a jail. They are a guideline. Your Prakriti is a guideline. The Vikriti is when you have gone out of the guideline. So that you know you have gone out of the guideline, how to come back. And this is why this concept is so vital. But the danger is that we reduce it to a mechanistic model. That is the danger. Today, everybody in the West wants to have anti-kapha chai. All the yoga studios, you go and look at all of that, it is all anti-kapha chai. And different company, it will be tulasi, it will be ginger. Very, very popular to reduce kapha, as if kapha is some devil. Actually, kapha dosha doesn't create too much problem. Vata dosha creates the problem. In fact, Vata is the primary mover behind most disorders. In Tamil, we say Vata Noi. That the disease itself is because of a Vata which is imbalanced. And today, what are we doing? We are saying we don't want Kapha, putting all the Pitta, all the Vata, and then we wonder why it is not working. So let us not reduce Ayurgenomics to just some method to give some prescription. What is the goal of Prakriti, Vikriti, Sanskriti? And that is where, through an understanding of the dosha, you can move from dosha to nirdosha. That is the goal. Nirdosha is the highest Prakriti. Dosha is the lowest manifestation. Tamasika Prakriti is dosha. The highest Satvika Prakriti will be nirdosha. And that is where that movement has to be there. So thank you, Nilachal, for this beautiful session. Thank you, everyone, for being part of it. And we hope to continue to take all these activities together. Hari Om Tat Sat.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much. And I would like to end the session with the Shanti Mantra. Nilachal, would you like to do it?
Yeah. लोका समस्ता सुखिनो भवन्तु सर्वे जनाः सुखिनो भवन्तु ॐ शान्तिः 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 ॐ. So namaste, thank you, and we'll see you again soon.